Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison and I will be your host. Today is January 21st. It's Sunday and I'm recording from my home in Los Angeles, California. Hopefully I'm finding everyone wonderful. It's actually a very beautiful winter day in California. It's what we call brisk because we don't usually have brisk, and I think it's like 60 today. For everybody else in the country, I apologize for all the cold weather you've been having. I know that that can be really, really awful. But that's why I live in Southern California. You know, having grown up in New England, I had my fair share of the cold days and knew that wasn't for me. And now I love my Southern California winters. It's very, very mild. Though I do wish we've had a little more weather in terms of rain, but so it goes. Anyways, it's only been like 2 weeks since my last episode. One of my goals this year was to try to record more regularly, even if they would be shorter. So I thought I would try every 2 weeks and let's see how it goes. I have some FOs to share with you today, some whips, of course, and then a bit of gossip, some fiber enhancement, and then what's going to be going on, where I'm going to be in the next few months in terms of travel. All right, so let's get started with my two FOs, which are the tiniest FOs ever. Yes. Each one of these is separate. So as part of my New Year's resolutions, I wanted to make knit ornaments for a little tree I have, and I knew that if I waited until like October, November, that I would just never get it done. So I sort of committed to wanting to do 2 a month, so that by the time the holiday rolled around, I would have enough for the tree. So the first one I did is, this is just exactly what it looks like. It's called the Minikins by Woolly Wormhead, and super quick knit. I did it with some, like it just fits in my thumb, just right. Beehive acrylic that I had in my stash from other projects, and it used very little of it, and I think I did it on a US 1, and it took me a day. You know, it's really tiny, and I sort of used the pattern as a guideline because the pattern is actually, I think, written for sport or DK, so I did have to adjust a little bit. I wanted mine smaller, so I didn't make the cast on much bigger. I think the cast on called for 21 and I made mine 24, but I did change the number of rows because I did want it to be taller. And if I'd done it per pattern, it would have been a little squatter. So yeah, so it took me a day and pretty easy. You can see it's just knit in the rounds and it goes up, and then this I-cord, and then you hang with the I-cord. Cute. This other one, a little more fiddly, took me about a week. It is the Little Christmas Wreath by Magdalena Roslaniak. And I did this with this green as Blue Lights yarn sock lights. It was like a 4 skein mini set that my friend Michelle gave me, and I used the green to do the wreath. And I did make some modifications. You sort of can't tell, but I cast on here. It's kind of cast on 15 stitches flat, and then I divided it into 5 stitches, and I I-corded around and then joined them together at the end. I did a provisional cast on, and then at the end I knit 2 together, and you can kind of see a ridge, and then I kind of sewed it a little bit in. So that's what the back looks like. It's not horrible. I can live with it. But it was just fiddly, you know, having the other stitches on a holder while I did the I-cord, 5-stitch I-cord for, I think I did it for like 10 inches. Then I just braided them together, and then my little bow is just some single crochet. I just did a strip of it and then tied it, and then tied the bow to it. So yeah, that took me about a week. That's the Little Christmas Tree Wreath, and I'm really happy with it. It's really cute. So 2 ornaments to go, 20 more left for the year. And those were my FOs, so I'm happy with them though. They're cute. I did get a lot of knitting done on my other projects, but nothing done I'll show you the big one. I broke, as I talked about, my blanket. So I have 2 blankets going, the fingering weight, and then this is my worsted wool weight scrap yarn. And it's called the Groovy Gan by Marinky Slump. It is a free pattern. It was, excuse me, as I grab it. It is something that she saw the crochet pattern and she sort of deconstructed it and put the instructions on. Let me make sure I'm grabbing it this way. All right. So here it is. And I'll kind of pull it up. I have 37 inches. So in general, I have this green that's going all throughout. You can kind of see I have a lot of it. It was a sweater that I frogged and it was Barocco vintage. And so I'm pretty much doing a 4-row repeat. I'm doing the green and then I'm doing what I call sort of my red family. It's reds, oranges, pinks. You can kind of see. And then I have a blue family, shades of blue, and then I have like grays or sort of grays. And I'm going through and using scraps and things that I have. Now I'm 37 inches in and I'm running out of some of the colors. So that's another reason to do this every 2 months. I need to like knit some bigger projects in between so I can throw those scraps in to continue on this blanket. I envision going to at least 60 inches and then doing a probably thinking a 2-inch border, because I'll have a lot of this green left, and I actually have a fair amount of this pink. You can kind of see. That's just Patton's wool that I had, and I have like a full skein of it. So I'm thinking of doing that. The stitch itself, the crochet, is really kind of cool. It's utilizing knitting through the back loop only, or front loop? Front loop. And then every 10 stitches, it does this raise where you basically go into the row below and do a double crochet. So it creates kind of like this step effect. And I really like it. I think it really looks cool. And it's very warm. It should be mostly machine washable. I'll probably wash it like on hand wash cycle and then air dry. There are some things in here that might felt. We shall see. But I don't tend to be very nice to my blankets. I have a few crochet blankets, and if I can't at least throw it in the washer every so often, then it's not going to get used. But I did 7 inches in about 10 days. So I'm happy with that. As I said, I probably have another 24 inches to go before I start the edging. So if I stick to my back on my plan of working on this every other month, by the end of the year, hopefully I'll have it done. And considering I started this last year this time, I started on January 2nd, 2017, I think 2 years to finish it off is like a good time. And I really enjoy working on it. And, you know, crochet is relatively easy. I'm not the fastest crocheter because I crochet the way I knit and I throw instead of most crocheters pick. So they basically are holding the yarn in one hand and they're doing the hook and doing it that way. And I can't do it that way. I throw around the crochet hook like I do around my knitting needles. So it works for me, but it's not as fast as some people who crochet. But I'm happy, and it's just so comfy. I just love working on it, especially in the winter. This will be easy, a little harder in the summer, which is why it went away for 6 months. But I'm going to try to stick with it this year so that I can get it done. And I love scrappy projects. I love using all my scraps up. I don't like keeping a bunch of scraps on hand for a long time, so this is like the perfect project to get rid of a lot of stuff. And it's really soft. So, and then the ends, you can see I have a lot of ends. I'm hoping when I do the edge, a lot of those ends will be kind of just in that edge, and I'll just trim them and leave it. I was thinking of doing like an initial really tight kind of single crochet with a smaller needle to kind of capture all that, and then going out from there. I don't know. That's a ways off, so I don't have to think about it. So that's the blanket, and it's going away for till March, and my fingering weight blanket will be coming out in February, so like in 2 weeks. So in between that, I'm working on 3 other projects. I'll show you my purse project, which I don't think I've really gotten that much done since last time. We'll see. I have had some time to knit in some meetings and stuff. I was actually just thinking today I really should take this out this weekend because I like to finish them off at home and then like, you know, get the toe started so that I have them in a mindless or relatively easy time when I'm at work, you know, the foot and the leg. But it looks like I probably am not there yet. I do like to do my legs as long as the foot at least. So, and then the leg is actually a ribbed. And oh, I forgot, I mean, if you haven't seen, this is my Gales Art sock blank. So I'm actually just getting into some of the green pops and I'll be almost to the red. The cardinal is coming up. And you can kind of see I had to hit a cardinal in the foot and some green there too. And then I think I'm making these for my mom for Christmas for next year. So I will be happy. I have just sort of an unofficial goal. These are my purse projects, but I don't like them to sit around forever. So I'm gonna try to get these done. I've been working on them. These were my Christmas Eve cast on. I will try to get them done by mid-February so that I can do another sock. And I have some travel, I think, coming up next weekend, and these will be the project I bring. So hopefully I will get a significant portion done on these. Otherwise, they sort of just sit in my purse and you know how it goes. You break them out, you know, every so often I'll have a meeting or something where I can knit, but I honestly don't have a lot of time to knit at work unless it's a meeting, and it's only certain meetings. Some of the meetings, if I'm running the meeting and taking notes because I have to do minutes and stuff, I can't knit, sadly. And unfortunately, I do tend to run most of the meetings that I go to, so I'm not just a participant or attendee at a lot of meetings. Anyways, so that is the pattern is just sort of me, though I am doing the heel. It's the Keel Heel by Renee Strauss, and that's kind of an interesting heel. And yeah, let's go with the other one. I think I'm still working on, you've seen, I haven't gotten too far, and this is the San Juan Bautista shawl by Elizabeth Green Musselman. It was a gift to me, the yarn and the pattern from my friend Martha Knit Crit. And I would say I'm 25 or 30% done. It's kind of an interesting construction where it sort of just keeps growing. It's kind of done on a, I think like a bias, but it's just sort of this open lacy rib and it's alternating stripes. And I really like it. I think the yarn has a little, yeah, I'm not even sure what the yarn is, honestly. So I'm going to keep going on this. It's pretty mindless. I do have a pattern that I keep because it's easy to, it's not hard to figure out where you are, but it's a lot easier for me to look at the pattern and then look at my stitches and then know how to start it and end it. So I am following that, and I'm hoping to have this done by the end of February. That's kind of my goal, to start another shawl if I'm going to try to complete my 6 shawls this year. So this is a fingering weight. My idea this year is to sort of alternate a fingering weight shawl and a thicker yarn sweater, or if I'm doing a fingering weight sweater, thicker yarn shawls, because I do have 1 or 2 shawls in my queue I have the yarn for that are like DK. So that is the San Juan Bautista shawl by Elizabeth Green Musselman, and yeah. But the thing that's been getting the most work and the most love is my Brinja, which is my cardigan I'm doing, and it's by Linda Lekonovic. And I've had this, as I talked about, in my queue since December 2015, and the yarn I've had even longer. This is your standard Lion brand fisherman's wool that I've got, who knows, years ago. I do know it's been in my stash since 2011, so a while. But this is a bottom-up cardigan sweater. It is, the only modification that I'm doing is it is actually a button cardigan, and I decided to take the buttonholes out and I'm gonna make it an open front cardigan. And I am loving it. So let me show you what I'm loving. And it is this. Do you see that squishiness? Ugh! This is the easiest rib pattern. It is actually just a 2-stitch crossover, left, right, and it makes like kind of this open oatmeal poppy kind of thing. This yarn is pretty squishy anyways. Fisherman's wool is a very kind of, you know, loose spun wool. And I'm just loving it. And you can see I've got pockets. I've even gotten past the pocket. So I think when I checked 11 inches into it, and I have to go 16 and a half before I start doing, I think, separation for the armholes. So it's a fairly long sweater, which is what I'm wanting. And this is all from my first skein. I have 3 skeins. Not that if I needed to go get another one, I couldn't. They're very readily available. But I have this much left. And it's going well. And kind of did this, and then I've done my pocket. Well, except the sewing it part. But it is, you knit basically up to here and do the cast off, and then you stop and you go on the back side and you pick up stitches and you do a stockinette panel just back and forth, and then you join it back in at the top, and then you sew the sides. Well, from the inside I'll sew the sides at some point, and that will be my pocket. And I don't know what, I just felt stitches pop on the ends because I'm showing it to you. I don't want them to go anywhere. All right. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's really squishy. Forgotten how easy and fast when you, when you do projects in worsted weight. It's great. So the only potential danger is running out of yarn, potentially. Depends on how long I make my sleeves. And, but I'm not gonna worry about that, you know, until I get through the second and into the third skein and I see where I'm at. But I have been diligently working on this because it is really easy. You know, this is nothing to memorize or anything like that. And I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And yeah, really happy with it. And I like the fact that I'm not doing buttonholes, makes it even easier. I don't even have to remember anything. Here, that's not the fun part. The fun part, you can kind of see. So again, hoping to have that. I think my sweaters for my goals were on a 3-month rotation. So I'm supposed to finish this by the end of March. I'm hoping I can finish it by the end of February because it is worsted weight. It is a longer cardigan, but I'm hoping I can finish it off by then because I think some of the other next ones up in my queue are fingering, so they will take me longer. But I have been pretty diligently working every night on something. I was working on those ornaments, and now that they're done, I'm just alternating between the shawl and the sweater until the end of the month, and then my fingering weight will come in, and that getting my 3 or 4 inches done on that takes about 10 days, and then in between I'll be working on that. So those are all my whips right now. It is really hard. Like, I have so many great things in my queue of just working on these. I find, you know, like we all do, Ravelry can be a rabbit hole, a terrible, wonderful, terrible, wonderful rabbit hole. So I'm trying to sort of stay out of it because looking at other projects and looking at the new latest and greatest kind of makes me, you know, want to cast on something else. And I know for myself that I'm trying to be semi-monogamous because I'm a process knitter, but I like to finish things. Don't we all? So I'm doing that, and I forgot to show, this is in my beautiful Fat Squirrel bag that I adore. In fact, both of them are in Fat Squirrel right now. So that's all the knitting I have right now. Moving into what's been going on in my life. Nothing exciting the last few weeks. Haven't gone anywhere. Haven't really done anything. Been working a lot. A lot of work going on right now. And then when I'm not, I'm sort of just been homebodying it. Boyfriend and I have been spending a fair amount of time at home playing board games. If you're a board game person, I think I might have, you can't really see here, but there's a lot of board games around me right now. He's a board game geek. So we have, I don't know, I think when I last counted, and there's been more that have come in since then, 60 to 70 board games. But we've been pretty monogamous and dedicated to Gloomhaven, which is a rather large RPG kind of game, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons, but almost a board game where you do play characters and you get experience and you play, you know, you have different actions and movements, and you do a campaign. So you have different board tiles in each campaign. Each scenario is a different one with different monsters. I mean, it's amazing. If It was originally a Kickstarter. It got funded out of the water. It's now in its second or third funding, and it's just gone crazy. You will hear about it because it's an awesome board game. And he said that they're even like potentially going to sell it on Walmart. But it's a giant board game. Like, it's heavy and it's a lot of pieces. And we actually got a special kind of organization that was created. It was like burned wood, because the setup on this game can take, if you didn't have like everything really organized, could take a while. Even with our organization, it takes about 15 minutes to set up, 10 to 15. And that's with the fact that behind me, you can see my table. Well, we got this really cool Kickstarter funded table called the Duchess board game table. And it took about a year plus to get to us. But that table, that top comes off. And underneath it is a space where we have a foam mat and we have it set up, the board game, all the time. And we can leave it set up and then put the topper on, and it looks like a regular dining table. It's awesome. I love it. I love it a lot, actually. And that makes it a lot easier to leave the game out and maintain my fanatical need for cleanliness and neatness. More neat than clean. So yeah, so Gloomhaven, we've been spending a lot of time. We play a campaign of just the two of us. We each play 2 characters, and we're going around and killing monsters. And we probably do that 2 days a week. We try to do definitely on the weekend, at least 1 scenario, sometimes 2. And each scenario takes between, depending on how we're doing and how luck is going for against us, we usually spend, I would say, 3 to 5 hours playing it. And if we just did, that was with 2 scenarios, and if we just did 1, it's about 2.5. So yeah, and we're only through, I think we've gone through 11 or 12 scenarios, and there's like 120 in there. And some you go back and replay because you lose them. You know, you die, you get exhausted, you don't do, because they all have goals, you don't get the treasure. It's awesome. Not to mention, every so often we play one of the other mini board games we have. Like, we just played, he got the expansion for this game, Jamaica, because he has a special love of pirate games. So we played that last weekend because he picked up the expansion, and that's a lot of fun. So yeah, board games. I really like them. I just wish we had more people who played with us, because a lot of times it's just the 2 of us, and sometimes his son will play, but we don't really have any, like, I have a few friends, but no one really close who can just like drop in and play a board game. Anyway, so that's what I've been spending my time doing. That, and like I said, kind of hibernating at home and working. One of the things I did is I got a little I got some stash enhancement this week. I watched Lisa, the Fiber Nymph. I've watched her podcast for years and years and years, and she is a wonderful dyer. And she, on her recent podcast, talked about one of her new colorways. It was like a Valentine's colorway. And I just love the story she told about the inspiration for it. And it's a self-striping, and it's called Unconditional. And you can see it's stripes of like a dark pinkish, a dark gray, and a white. And how she explained it is, this is like love. Love is unconditional. Sometimes you're so absolutely in love with them, and that's the red. Sometimes you really can't stand them. You still love them, but you can't stand them. And that's like the dark gray. And most of the time you're living in the in-between, which is this white, where you love them, but you're not like feeling it all the time. And you're not disliking them. You love them unconditionally. So I just had to get it because I love the story behind the yarn. And I figured it would make a great pair of socks for me. Now, and I also got a different base that I usually don't get. I picked up her Traveler base, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon, and her Traveler base is sport weight. And I've never done sport weight socks. So I've decided that these are going to be a pair of sport weight socks for me. Hopefully in February. As soon as I finish my other socks, I plan on casting these on for me. So that's that. The other one I picked up is actually her standard bounce self-striping called Here We Go. And they're actually not going anywhere, but this is based on, she's out of Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, if not in Pittsburgh. Well, she doesn't live there anymore because she moved somewhere else. But, so these are Steelers colors. you know, the black, the white, the yellow. And my nephew is a crazy Steelers fan, and I thought it would be kind of cool to knit him a pair of socks. I have never done that because he is 16, and 16, he's a 16-year-old boy. But I thought his feet should be slowing down enough now that I could knit him a pair of socks, even if I knit him a little big. Though I'm going to have to get some contrasting heel and toes because I'm pretty sure he's up to a size 13 foot. But I thought I could do that for Christmas for him next year. I used to knit for him more when he was smaller, but then, you know, he hit teenage boy time, and although he loves me and he pretends like he loves my gifts, he doesn't really, although he lives in New England, you know, like they do, like he's too cool to wear a hat. He's too cool to put a scarf on. I mean, I don't even think most of the time he wears pants in the wintertime. He's in shorts. It's crazy. So that's in my stash enhancement and on my list, either for this Christmas or maybe the following year. But one of these years, I will make him some Steeler socks, and now I have yarn for it. That's the only enhancement I have, which is good because there potentially is some trips coming up where I can do that. I'm 90% sure I'm going to Vegas next weekend to see my sister. She's going to be out there for work. I think my boyfriend is going to come with me. I'm still going if he doesn't, but that just changes the trip if he's there versus not there. She can't really see me that much. I mean, we'll just have dinner because she is there to work and she works all day. But you know, I can't not go see her. You know, she lives on the other side of the country, and if she's 4 hours away from me, even if it's just for dinner, I only get to see her a few times a year. So gonna do that next weekend. And then in February, I'm 70% sure I'm going to Stitches West. That trip, unfortunately, my knitting friend Priscilla here, who we have gone in the past, she has a prior engagement. Her sister is getting married, so she can't make it this year, sadly. But I'm thinking either I'll go up by myself or I'll see if my boyfriend wants to come up with me, and maybe we can drive up. Again, we shall see. But 70% sure that that's going to happen. I have the room. At least even if I just go up and I'm really just there for the Saturday for checking out the market and just seeing people, I don't get to see everyone as much anymore. Used to see a lot of the Northern California. I'll see quite a few of them at Knockers, but I used to see them twice a year. I used to see them in October and potentially Stitches West in there. And anyways, I thought I haven't been to Stitches West in 3 years, maybe 4. So it's time to make another trip considering how close it is. So that's going to happen. Then Knockers, I'm definitely going to Knockers in April. So that is the Northern California Knitting Retreat. So excited about that. That's just a super relaxing time of sitting around knitting with awesome people. And then our annual trip to WonderCon, which is the Comic-Con Light. It is put on by Comic-Con, but it is done in Anaheim, and that's in March. And I think I just got our hotel room for that. I still have to get our passes. And then I need to fit a trip. I told my family I would come out March, April. So I got to find a weekend, long weekend to go see them and see the new house that they just bought. They're moving. Well, they're moving. My mother is moving in, I don't know. They're moving this weekend. They've been moving, it seems like, for the last 3 weeks, but they've been getting work done and floors redone. And I think all of that is finished, and they're 100% moving in shortly. And the way my family is, they kind of live commune style. So my brother, sister, and my parents all live together, and they all have like their own space in this big house. So looking forward to going to see that. And that's kind of all I got for right now. Oh, and Zombie Apocalypse. I got to add that to my show notes. I signed up to go to Zombie Apocalypse in June. Yeah. So I hope everyone is doing wonderful. I hope everyone is staying warm where they are and having a wonderful new year. Hopefully 2018 is treating everyone wonderfully. It is treating me pretty okay so far. Considering, 2018, I'm 41 now. Ooh. Doing all right. Pretty happy. Happy with my knitting, at least. Actually, I'm overall happy, but especially happy with my knitting. I feel like I've been just doing a lot, very organized. Next, I have this urge to go into my stash and kind of clean it out a little bit. But I'm going to do some stash enhancement if I go to Stitches West, most definitely. And of course, whenever I see something online that I have to have. I was listening to some podcasts today, both the Yarniacs and the Knitmore Girls, and they're kind of adopting this thing where just embrace your stash, love your stash. And I don't have a giant stash, and I used to feel guilty about it. Like, oh, I'm never going to be able to knit all these yarns I have because I'm a relatively slow knitter. But I enjoy having them. And who knows, one day my circumstances might change and I won't be able to afford to get as much yarn as I do, and I will knit from my stash. Or I will just look at it because it's beautiful art and I love supporting artists. And that's what you do when you support indie dyers. And most of my yarn is indie dyers. So I would say a good 85%. Anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday. You can find me, because I always forget to tell you, I assume if you're watching this, you know, I'm Allison1031 on Instagram. Feel free to follow me. And I also have a Ravelry group, though I don't, we don't talk a lot on the Ravelry group. I'm not an online talker, and so it's hard for me to I do encourage. I will answer you back if you shoot me a message. But I'm just not that one to like have conversations or to comment on everything. It's just not my personality. But if you want to drop in and have any question about anything I've talked about, because I don't do really show notes at all, or any comment or question, I do appreciate every person, and you take the time to do that. And I do love that. So I'm not saying don't. That sounded awful. Anyways, Instagram is my preferred method of kind of social media. So feel free to shoot me up on there. It is private, but if you send me a message and I see anywhere that you have knitting or, don't look like some weird Russian man who wants to follow me, I will accept your friend request on Instagram. There were so many fake accounts and spam accounts that I keep it on private. It's just easier for me. And then you just have to, push it, and I will accept you. It's just all those other weird ones that I was like, oh no, I don't want all these weird accounts following me, because my Instagram is knitting for the most part, knitting and travel and how much I love LA. So that's enough babbling. I'm gonna go enjoy my Sunday, finish my laundry, and sit down and knit. So that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.